Hello, and welcome to another Wichita Toy Train Club product review. My name's Chris, and behind the camera, we have Zachariah. Today we'll be taking a look at the Lionel S-2 scale Tinplate Prewar inspired Fright set. So, with that, let's take a deeper look and let's get started. Before taking a deep look and fully detailed observation onto the set, Lionel has styled this set from the Lionel set cars from the pre-war era, which now includes Lionel's most advanced control features, including Legacy Command Control, Legacy Rail Sounds, Odyssey 2 Speed Control, front and rear electro couplers, all LED lighting, full die-cast body and frame, with the swinging bell, which we'll get into later. The overall look of this locomotive and cars is a pre-war era train set. But actually, the set is completely scale. Alongside with the command control features from Legacy, you can run this locomotive on Legacy control systems, TMCC, or in conventional mode with your standard transformer. If you're using this engine and set on smaller layouts, the minimum curve is 036. Taking a look at one end of our locomotive, we have first off our big O-scale coupler, which can be fired remotely with TMCC or Legacy. Over around on this side of the electrocoupler, we have separately applied metal hoses. Going up, we have our also separately applied coupler cut bar. Moving up on the locomotive, we have our cast-in door with cast-in rivet details all around. Now, also to mention that the windows on this door are frosted, so you will not see any of the electronics inside of the locomotive. Surrounding the door and the engine itself, we have our separately applied handrails going up all throughout the body of the locomotive. And then moving up here, we have all LED lighting, which is directional, and the side number boards do light up. Taking a look at the top of the locomotive, as mentioned, we do have our LED headlight with the number boards that do light up along with the LED headlight. Moving back, we do have a metal swinging bell. Now this bell actually does swing and is in sync with the timing and the sound that comes from the locomotive speaker. Moving back to our pantograph assembly, this pantograph does have a little bit of spring to it, and when you push it down, it does stop. It does not go all the way down, it just springs up. So really these aren't too delicate, but as always, just be careful when you're packaging the locomotive, as these can break because they are a little bit more fragile. But they are a little heavier duty than most others. Looking at the rest of the locomotive itself, we do have die casts in rivets along with the handrails, as mentioned before, going all alongside the engine. On the top side of the locomotive, our roof is painted a nice shiny gloss black. Now the overall set does have a nice shine to it, as it does have a gloss coat on the whole set itself. Now taking a look at this, if we take this little roof hatch off, this reveals our program run switch and volume pod. Lionel has taken off the Odyssey 2 speed control on-off switch as well on this locomotive. Looking at the other end of the locomotive, the overall look is basically the same, just very few differences. Our major difference is that the bell is not on this side, it's on the other side, so we don't have that. We have this stick, which I actually have no idea what this is. But overall, it's basically the same as the other side of the locomotive. Taking a quick look at the side of the locomotive, the first thing you'll notice is that we do have the original looking tin plate styled plates along the side with the numbers and the word Lionel along either side of the locomotive. Along with that, we do have our rivets details going all up and down the locomotive as well on the roof. The crew figures inside are hand painted. There's one on either side. The glass on the front of the locomotive where those figures are located at is clear, so you are able to see the crew figures. All the windows that are back and on the rear of the locomotive where the window is on the door are frosted, so you won't be able to see inside the locomotive to see any of the electronics. Moving down, we do have a gold painted step ladder which is separately applied, and our die cast metal frame going all along the side. Now that we've flipped our engine over in our engine cradle, we'll be taking a look at the bottom side of the locomotive. Starting off with, we do have our IR sensor right here in the center of the engine. This means that if you do have the IR sensor track, you can run your locomotive over that sensor and it will load all the engine data into the base. This locomotive does not come with a memory module like the old ones did, to where you can put that module into the legacy remote and it will automatically load the data into it. You either run the engine over the center track or you load the data into the controller by manually inputting all of it. Now, right beside the IR sensor, we do have two pickup rollers that give power to the locomotive. Now, along with right beside the pickup rollers, we have our gears and two traction tires, on the front side of the locomotive. Now, unlike many of the older models that Lionel has made, those gearboxes on the older models are not locking. The difference between the older ones and this one is this gearbox is locking, which means the locomotive will not move if you push it. It will not roll at all unless you forcefully move the engine, which then drags along the wheels and can easily ruin your traction tires a lot faster. Now, looking at oil for your locomotive, if you're first opening it from the factory, your main points are in between the axles, some grease on the gears if needed, on the pickup rollers, and along all these axles where there is rolling movement that could cause friction. On the front side of the locomotive, on the underside, we do have Lionel's new way of labeling their serial number right down here underneath the truck on the underside of the locomotive. Now that we've taken a deeper look into the locomotive, let's take a look at the cars that come in this set. Now, unlike the locomotive, which is die-cast metal, these cars are plastic, but they still have the same shine and nice tinplate styling as the locomotive does. Now, to keep along with the tinplate look, we do have these plates just like the tinplate era did have all along each of the cars and the locomotives. Now, the set does come with one hopper car and one reefer car, as well as a caboose. Now, along all of the cars, just like the locomotive, we do have rivets which are molded in on each of the cars, as well as the caboose. Each of these cars features a O-scale coupler, and along with the hopper and caboose, the O-scale couplers are compatible to be changed out with Katy couplers if you so choose to do that. The reefer has older tooling and is not compatible to do so. Now, unlike the locomotive, which had mostly frosted windows, so you would not see any of the internals of the locomotive itself, the caboose back here does not have any frosted windows. The windows are clear, as well as it does have an LED light inside of it. The caboose also does feature a hand-painted crew figure sitting at the top. Now that we've taken a look at the engine and the cars and the whole set itself, let's start it up and listen to some of the sounds.
This is the yard office. Do you read me?
Roger that. I read you. Over.
Stand by for track orders. Over.
Copy that. Ready to start this trip. Out.
After listening to the startup sequence, as you can tell, we do still have the generic crew talk dialogue. The engineer dialogue is very generic, as well as we do have a different voice for the Yardmaster, but overall, the dialogue is still very generic from the Lionel database. Moving on, we do have our horn, which is quillable with 3 different steps. Now, as we did mention before, this does include the swinging bell. If you push on the bell feature on the remote, you can make it quieter or more prominent. The bell does move depending on the loudness that you make the bell, as well as is reactive to the sound. Now, one thing I've noticed is that if you hold the bell like you would on a normal Lionel locomotive, it continues to go. Unlike those, this stops. It does not stick and continue. This does become a little bit annoying. To change this, we've found out, going to Info, scrolling to your Legacy mode and selecting TMCC, if you press it once, it will continue. But this is only in the TMCC mode. Going back to Legacy, if we do the same thing, it doesn't do it. It goes for a few more bell hits and then stops. Looking at the touchpad of the Legacy remote for this locomotive, as stated before, we do not have any smoke units, but we still have the plus and minus and get the same sounds as you would from any steam or diesel locomotive that does have a smoke unit. Now, right here where our RPMs would be, we do have the arrows for that, but it does give a electric motor sound that gets higher and lower. So in a way, we do have RPMs, but we really don't. We have our Crew Talk and Yardmaster buttons right here, our volume controls right here, and then 4 spaces where we have essentially nothing. These buttons right here do absolutely nothing. So as you can hear, we've revved up a little bit. Let's rev back down to normal volume. And that's about it. Let's listen to some of the Crew Talk dialogue.
Dispatcher, I made up. Can we depart to the main line? Over.
Roger that. Your route is lined and locked. Have a safe run. Over.
Thank you much. Cleared outbound. Out. Tower, air test complete. Am I clear? Over.
Copy that. You are clear through my limits. Over.
Acknowledged. I got green. Out.
This is the block operator. Clear to proceed east from where you stand at track speed.
Acknowledged. I got green. Out. Dispatcher, I made up. Can we depart to the main line? Over.
Hold at the signal.
Roger that. Standing by. Out.
This locomotive is equipped with the Lionel sequence control. You can activate this by pressing and holding the aux1 button. That signals that you are now in sequence control. So let's get started and roll this baby out.
Dispatcher, can we move yet? Over.
Roger that. Your route is lined and locked. Have a safe run. Over.
Clear to move. Thank you, sir. Out. Dispatcher, I have a clear signal. We're moving. Over. Dispatcher, are we clear through the junction? Over.
Clear through my limits. Over.
Roger that. Making good time. Out. Dispatcher, we're moving. Over. Tower, out the line.
This is the tower. Cleared inbound. Over.
Copy that. All clear inbound. Out. Tower, stopped and ready to cut off. Over.
Thanks there. Good run. Out.
Going to sign the register book. Thanks, dispatcher. Out.
Alright, now that we've seen the locomotive and the whole set in action, my personal opinion on this set is that it's very, very attractive. The colors all go together well. It's a great paint job. Lionel did a great job on this set in my opinion. The one downside I have on this is that the lighting is LED, which is great, but it's cold white LED. In my personal opinion, I think it'd be a lot better looking if the LED was a little bit warmer and maybe the caboose had more frosted windows, just to give it more of the tinplate era look, that the lighting is more of an incandescent warm look. But that's my own personal opinion. Whoever is watching this may like the LED cold white look more, but that's my personal opinion. This concludes our product review video of the S-2 scale Tinplate Prewar inspired freight set by Lionel. This set goes for $999.99. If you do go through an authorized Lionel dealer, you could possibly get a discount off of that MSRP price. Now, thank you for watching this video. Like us on Facebook for all of our latest updates and as well as our open hours here in Wichita, Kansas, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, again, for updates on product videos and train show videos that we do post. Thank you for watching.